friends and family of the internet. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So, my name is Samantha. And for some of you new people that have recently found us, give you a little back history. I own and operate a 2-acre farmstead here in Southeast Louisiana. I'm no-till, totally organic. I sequester carbon, not because the government tells me to, but because we need carbon to grow food. So I just want to welcome you guys to my channel. A little bit of back history. I have a master's plus 21, a minor in science, was an educator for many, many years, and I'm a child of the Most High King. So let's jump into this. Do you guys know what country or countries have the most inbreeding? Yeah, I know. I just shocked you. It's Sunday and I said the word inbreeding. So you might be curious what I mean. I'm talking about cousins marrying cousins, half siblings marrying half siblings. We're also going to discuss what does God say about that practice, and then what does Satan say about that practice, and why? Why are we seeing so many children in Gaza with severe health issues? So some of you may be aware of the fact that there's a lot of propaganda about this war between Israel and the Palestinians, like so much propaganda. They've been, the New York Times, the Washington Post, portraying these children that look like a bag of bones. It's horrific, right? Like it's heartbreaking, portraying them as starving. But it's not starving, it's genetic issues. So it got me kind of curious, like, what's really going on with these kids? Why are there so many children in the Gaza Strip who look so, one, malnourished, two, fighting cancer, and three, with these genetic abnormalities that are like horrific? That's only 4 million people in the Gaza Strip. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's only 4 million people in the Gaza Strip, but a tremendous percent of these children look really bad, guys. Like, it's bad. So as I dug into the starving children in Gaza, I realized, well, that's a lie. Like, more calories have been brought into the Gaza Strip since the war began than these people had daily before the war began. So what's really happening? What's wrong with these babies? And as an educator, as somebody that spent many, many years learning about learning disabilities and physical disabilities and what causes it, this grabbed my attention. Now, there is a word, do not giggle, because if you know me, you are going to giggle, that they use to cover.
You're all looking at Julian's.
So they cover up the word inbreeding with this.
So stay tuned to learn more. Consanguinity.
Consanguinity. Consanguinity. I have to keep looking it up because that's just a weird word. I'm like, why are they using that instead of inbreeding? And then it hit me. Well, because they don't really want you to know that is what is actually going on in the Middle East. Don't get upset with me. I'm fixing to show you information from WHO, and the World Health Organization, WHO, and the UN, and even what Satan says about inbreeding. So if you don't know, YouTube does not pay me. If you look in the top of comments, there's ways that you can row in our boat. If you choose to row in our boat, I'm going to give you a newsletter monthly. And hold on, guys, I'm setting up the computer for this. I'm also going to do Zooms with you where you and I can talk face to face, where we can chat about what's going on in the world. And I think that's important, right? Like, I think all of us need to know what's going on in the world. And sometimes the best way to do that, folks, is to do it in a group face to face, right? Where you can ask me questions and I can answer them. Inbreeding by country 2025. Inbreeding by country. As you can tell by this map, Canada has 1.5%. The United States has 0.1. France has 2.6, Spain has 2%, Russia is the same as the US, 0.1. Mexico, it's 1.3, Brazil, it's 2, Australia, you're at 0.2%. China, it's 2%. But look at this blue area, folks. Do you guys see all this? This is the Middle East. All right. So let's really talk about this. Turkey, inbreeding is at 21.1%. Syria, it's 35%. Israel is at 10.4%. Egypt's 29%. Let me see if I can get Palestine. There it is, 31.6% of children are born into, and basically, I call it incest. I guess it's really not. It's inbreeding, right? These people are marrying first and second cousins over and over and over and over. So that would be like my sisters. I have two sisters who have children. It'd be like my daughters marrying their sons, or my sons marrying their daughters. And then when they all have children, it happens again. Can you see how this would raise the incidences of genetic issues within the country? I mean, come on. Come on, you guys. Palestine, 31.6%. So it says that in 2023, data released by the Turkish Statistical Institute indicated that consanguinity among first cousins has fallen from 5.9% of marriages in 2010 to 3.2%. Of course, it does exclude other forms of inbreeding, such as marriages between more distant cousins, siblings, half siblings, uncles, nieces, and so on. It says the coefficient of inbreeding for a child of consanguineous of inbreeding marriage is the probability that the child's DNA includes two alleles at a given locus that are both from the same common ancestor of the two parents. For example, first cousins likely share a common grandparent and are thus identical by descent. A higher coefficient of inbreeding indicates a greater degree of inbredness and a higher likelihood that the child will have recessive genetic disorders compared to the general population. The practice of marriage between close relatives, typically cousins, although rare in the Americans and the more modern Europe, it's notably common in North Africa and the Middle East, and it is traditional and respected aspect of many Arab and Muslim cultures. Huh. A certain degree of inbreeding can be difficult to avoid in isolated or cloistered societies, such as the populations of small islands, where the range of possible marriage partners is limited. These conditions are artificially limit potential mates for members of the population, driving up rates of inbreeding. Then they kind of talk about the Amish people. And then it goes on to say inbreeding among humans has been proven to increase the risk of common types of genetic diseases and disorders among certain pockets of the population due to the rates of inbreeding in these countries. Genetic disorders such as hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain, neural tube defects, and congenital heart defects are more common. In Palestine and Lebanon, there are also very high rates of children born with cleft lips and palates. Wow. Okay. So let's go on. Let's talk about it. The genetic health effects of inbreeding in the Palestinians. This was June 17th of 2025. Here's our favorite word again. Consanguinity is a term that describes a marriage between two individuals who are closely related by blood, such as your first or second cousins. The practice is not unique to any single religion or group, but is observed in various cultures. Okay, so I'm going to kind of argue that. There is a bit of history where the royal families tended to do this to keep the royal blood pure, the elites. It is, in my opinion, very satanic in nature because what does the Bible, what does God say? Well, if you go back to Genesis 19:31, Lot's daughter talked about to her sister, hey, we need to make babies with daddy because he's growing old and there's nobody else around. And then, we all know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And then Leviticus 18:6 says, no one is to approach any close relative to have sexual relations. I am the Lord. God told us, like, don't do this. Do not do it. It's in Leviticus 20:17. It's in Deuteronomy 27:22. 1 Corinthians 5:1. It even mentions sexual immorality with Ammon sleeping with his father's wife. 1 Corinthians 6:18 says, flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits is outside the body. But whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. So these children that you are seeing being propagandized all over social media, you know, begging for food. These kids, if you go do your research, a lot of them were already sick. Why were they sick, Sam? Because their moms and dads or cousins, half brothers, aunts and nephews, nieces and uncles. In this, we're going to talk to Palestinian communities examining its prevalence, the associated health outcomes from a scientific standpoint, and the public health frameworks that are emerged in response. Like they had to come up with a whole medical, literally read it again. A public health framework had to emerge in response to the fact that these people won't quit sleeping with people in their own families. It is a social practice in many parts of the world, including among Palestinians. Studies show the prevalence of such unions can vary, with research indicating rates between 20% and 60% in certain communities. For instance, one study in the rural area of Yada found consanguinity rate of 61%, while a 2023 study reported 18.7% among participants, with a higher rate of 28.8% among their parents' generation. They say it's a combination of culture, social, and economic factors. A primary driver is the desire to strengthen kinship bonds and maintain family stability. It's pretty much, let's keep our property within each other. It's the same stuff that the elites did in England and Spain. These unions are often perceived as more stable and are sometimes easier and less costly to arrange. So let's talk about the genetic and the health implications. This practice carries specific genetic implications due to the increased likelihood of offspring inheriting identical copies of genes from a common ancestor. Every person carries recessive alleles, which are versions of genes that typically only express a trait if two copies are present, like redheads. In the general population, the chance of two unrelated individuals carrying the same recessive allele for a rare disorder is low. When closely related individuals, such as first cousins, have children, the probability that their children will inherit two copies of the same recessive allele from a shared grandparent increases significantly. In populations with histories of these types of marriages, certain autosomal recessive conditions may appear more frequently. Among Palestinians, studies have identified a higher prevalence of specific disorders. Blood disorders are, dealing with hemoglobin is one example. Metabolic disorders, PKU, is another, including deafness. So when you're seeing these children that look half starved, the majority of them are carrying these crazy genetic issues. And folks, they're going to look like that because genetically their parents have wrecked their bodies. The sin is manifesting in the physical flesh. Is the child sin? No. But what the parents have done to this child is horrific. So what did they do? They had to start telling people, educating them, screening and counseling, basically saying, like, let's do genetic counseling. You know, let's talk about genetic inheritance and assess a couple's specific risk of having a child with a hereditary disorder. So I thought this is in 2025, this article, June. So you're being told Gaza has no medical care, right? Women are birthing babies in the middle of rubble and there's no food. Yet they've got people over there genetically testing people before they get married. Social shifts are gradually influencing marriage patterns with some Palestinian communities. Factors such as rising levels of education, particularly for women, increased movement from rural to urban centers, and greater access to health information. Wow, that's different from what you hear coming, right? We keep hearing that, these people are being starved to death, yet they've got some of the best genetic counseling in the world. So let's talk about what put me on this path. I saw this video. Let me get it up there. And I was listening to him. And he was talking about something, this. And I went and researched because I always do my own research.
Tactic in the Palestinian fake machine. Tons of material comes from Syria and Yemen. It's actually ironic. In my videos, I keep saying the world is obsessed with Gaza while ignoring the two biggest humanitarian crises in the Middle East, Syria and Yemen, where over 1 million people have died and there is actual famine.
Right.
But the media doesn't care. Ironically, the Palestinians take footage from those places and present it as their own suffering. They steal the pain of people who are actually suffering, because no one beats the Palestinians at victim appropriation. Remember the savior? He is back. Israel is starving babies. Palestinian Online adds that the info is from Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics. Sounds reliable. Let's see where that image is from. Yemen, 5 years ago. And here is what Mustafa Barghouti tells us in his post. 700,000 Palestinians are starving, but he couldn't find a single image of a Palestinian child. So we used a photo of a Syrian child from 10 years ago. Classic. What I'm about to show you next proves more than anything how sick Palestinian society really is. They use children who are suffering from genetic diseases, cancer, and rare conditions to prove that there is famine in Gaza. I hesitated about showing this. I will include a chapter so that anyone who wants to skip can do so. But
we are not skipping. You and I are not skipping. Do you know why? Because I've had people that I have helped grow their YouTube channels. I have featured them on my YouTube channel who are now angry because I will not fall for what Israel's doing to the children in Gaza. I won't fall for it because these people are inbreeding. And because they are inbreeding, this is what's happening to the children of Gaza.
Decided to include it because in order to expose them, we have to go down to their level. If you want to skip, now's the time. Look at this girl. She has a rare disease. But to the Palestinian, that's just another opportunity to attack Israel. Suleiman writes, war crime, burnt alive. Another post with 1 million views blames Israel for bombing children. This girl has cancer. But that doesn't stop them from putting her in the rubble and having her say there is no food. You can even hear them telling her to say it. On her profile, it says she has cancer, and there are many more like her with rare genetic diseases. Like anywhere else, there are children in Gaza with cancer and genetic diseases. But in Gaza, there are more, and not because of Israel. I'm going to tell you something crazy you probably didn't know. In Gaza, 40% of people marry their cousins. And when people marry within the family, there are more genetic diseases. When I say things like this, people always comment that I'm lying. Please, don't believe me. I'm Jewish, Israeli, and Zionist. Don't believe a word I say. Go check for yourself. And if you do, you will find that I'm only scratching the surface of the massive iceberg called the Palestinian lie. There are thousands of videos like this. They are not private initiatives. It is all encouraged and orchestrated by Hamas and distributed through their official channels. If you want to see more examples, look up the page Gazawood. Just lie after lie after lie. Why do they do it? First of all, and you don't need a marketing expert to know this, emotional content, especially involving children, brings support. When you see an injured child, you automatically sympathize, and you automatically blame whoever hurt them. And the Palestinians have no problem taking a child with a genetic disease and presenting them as starving as long as it makes Israel look bad. But here is something deeper. Victimhood is the Palestinians' only real asset. Imagine if they were honest about what they want: the destruction of Israel, the creation of an Islamic state or caliphate, gays in prison or dead, women as the property of men. That wouldn't fly in the West. The only card they have is victimhood. That's why they play it nonstop. Open Al Jazeera right now. They are the speakers of Hamas. The headline will be about the civilians Israel killed. Israel, according to the Palestinians, never killed a single terrorist. Thousands of fakes like this spread every day. Please help me fight them. Share this video. Post it in your pages. Send it to your friends who fall for the trap that Palestinians are setting. For 100 more examples, follow Gazawood on Twitter.
I did my part. I did my research. Went to church, came home, did my own research, and was shocked. Shocked. But we aren't there yet. We're not done yet. Don't go anywhere.
There was a report that came out today that found that 32 Christians in Nigeria are killed every single day. 7,800 have been abducted since 2009, and 185,000 Nigerians have been killed, 125,000 Christians, and 60,000 liberal Muslims. There are 22 jihadist groups. I didn't realize this. I thought there were Boko Haram. I thought there were a few Islamic extremist groups operating in Nigeria, but 22, and they're systematically going around terrorizing Christians. It's been called a silent genocide because nobody cares, and if there are no Jews, then there's no news, and that's just the reality of how Western media often operates. And so because it's black on black violence, because it's black terrorists killing black Christians, the media is completely silent about this, and it's not just happening in
Nigeria. Is she wrong? Is she wrong? I have done so many videos on this. I live in a Black community. Since I have moved where I live right now, I know 6 different Black men who have been killed by gunfire from Black men. It's unreal, the Black on Black crime. For Black people living in America, you have a 90% chance or higher. If anything happens to you, robbery, rape, unaliving, that is going to be from someone that looks just like you and not from white people. But that's not what the media tells you. But the statistics say something else. And that's what's happening in Nigeria. The Islamic terrorist are unaliving Christians left and right, but nobody wants to talk about it. You want to talk about Gaza and the fake sick children, the fake starving children. And I, for one, am done. I'm done with the propaganda. I'm done with the emotional manipulation that is happening to Americans. The Bible warns you of this. Why are they doing it? Why? Why, Sam? Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it does. Because the world has to turn away from Israel. The people have to turn away from the Jews so that when the Antichrist and all these nations move upon Israel, there'll be nobody to stop them. So for the ones of you condemning Israel, cursing Israel, you're cursing your own seed. And you're being manipulated by the father of lies. By the way, if you'd like to support our channel, look in the top of comments.
Nigeria, in Mozambique, in the Congo, in Tanzania, lots of countries in Africa, you have radical jihadist groups that are killing and persecuting Christians. So Albanese, if you really cared about innocent human life, you would be taking a strong stance against radical Islamic jihadism, and that is the common thread that links Hamas, that links the groups terrorizing the Christians. People think, oh, well, you know, this is just Hamas, it's only going to affect Israel. No, radical Islam will affect all of us. It already is. So it's time we actually stand up for Christians around the world as well.
Well, the problem with what's happening in Africa, I think, Freya, is that the perpetrators are followers of Islam and the victims are Christians. And that upsets the whole leftist narrative of the oppressed and the oppressor, because according to that narrative, Christians are the oppressors and Muslims typically are the oppressed. But of course,
We don't stop it now, there'll be no Christians left. Because I'm going to tell you now, do you know what they're going to do? They're actually going to use a version of Islam, of the Jewish religion, and of Catholicism for the one world religion when it's over. Let me show you this. I found this today. What does Satan say about incestual relationships, about inbreeding? Who am I referring to as Satan? Well, the Quran. I did that video. Allah is Satan. It goes on to say, indeed, a light and illuminating book has now come to you from Allah. With it, Allah guides those who wish to earn his good pleasure to the path of peace and brings them out of the darkness into the light, guiding them into a straight path. He is the one who created for you all things on earth and then turned to the heavens and made them 7 heavens. He is knowledgeable in all things. In one verse of the Quran, Allah specifies family relations with whom marriages are forbidden in this list of prohibited marriages. Notice cousins, first or second, excuse me, are not mentioned, thereby indicating that marriages to one's cousins are permitted. Even though our Bible, right? Because you hear people in the Muslim religion say, well, we're the next book in the Bible. No, you've got nothing to do with the Bible. Muhammad was in a cave and a fallen angel attacked him. He ran in fear back to his wife and created this satanic religion. Prohibited to you are your mother, your daughter, your sister, your aunties from your father's side, your aunties from your mother's side, nieces from your brothers, nieces from your sisters, your foster mothers, your foster sisters, your mother-in-law, your stepdaughters under your guardianship, born from your past relationship. There is no prohibition if not from you. In other words, look, you raised her. She's not from your loins, so you can have her. Your biological son's lawful wives, also forbidden, is marriage to 2 sisters at the same time, except for what has already happened in the past. For Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. In this verse, nor anywhere else does Allah mention a prohibition towards marriages with cousins. Inbreeding namely marriages to first cousins, are a point of controversy for many people who are even Muslim, but grew up in an environment where such marriages were uncommon. So these are the reasons people have against inbreeding: personal dislike, lack of sexual feelings towards cousins in general, heard of or seen cases of birth defects. The Quranic prohibitions on marriages with women of certain ties are not purely due to genetic concerns over future children. That is because it also prohibits marriages to mother-in-laws. La, la, la. The reasons to why Allah prohibits marriages to certain relationships lies with his infinite knowledge. Wow. Then they try to tell you that it is a misconception or exaggerated understanding of the risk associated with these marriages. It is not commonly realized that every conception, whether it be with a relative or a total unrelated spouse, there's always risk involved with birth defects. I'm going to tell y'all right now, this is what makes this religion so flippin' dangerous. They lie, and the people that follow it are too uneducated to go dig out the truth. And when I say uneducated, I'm not talking about how much time you spent in school. My father never completed high school. He got his GED. My father's parents could not read or write, but they were the most educated people I've ever met in my life. Their wisdom had no bounds. So please do not assume when I say uneducated that I mean, oh, you don't have enough of the right education, because personally, I think universities today are doing a horrific job on educating the next generation. And unfortunately, so are we. I really feel like that is why the Lord has led me the way he has. Folks, wake up. If you were doing this free Palestine nonsense, you're literally on the wrong side. Am I saying Israel's perfect? No, my God. Israel has a shadow government just like America does. But you are literally hating the Jews. I can see it in the comments. You have become children of the dragon. And no, I'm not talking to you amazing people that have been here for a while with me. I'm talking to you, and you know that. I'm talking to these ones that drop in comments or used to follow me, but got their feeling hurt because I won't buy into the propaganda. The Bible says, blessed are the eyes that see, and blessed are the ears that hear. I am fixing to do a second video today for y'all that I was not expecting to do. And it's going to be called The Shadow Protocols. This amazing woman that follows my YouTube channel dug up some information about President Trump's meeting with the Russian President Putin in Alaska, why it was in Alaska, and what is going on with the control that's happening around the earth. Why? Folks, listen, we are so close to the end times. How do I know that? Millennial Jews, 20% of Jewish children born in the past, in this, it's called millennials, right? From 2000 to what is it? It was like 1998 to like 2012. That's like the millennial range. If you know, put it in comments, please. Those children are following Jesus. You know, the only reason Jesus has not come back is because of God's grace and mercy, waiting for all of us to repent. Because once he comes back and steps out on the cloud, right? Not on the earth, but on the cloud. And the angel does the trumpet. And I've told you guys before, I believe when he sounds the trumpet is going to be a frequency that children of the Most High will hear, and our bodies will ascend. We will ascend. People who are not of our frequency won't even hear it. They may think that they hear something. They'll look back and be like, I thought I heard something. Because we're all children created by God, but we are not all children of God. Let that sink in. What? Going deep today, friends and family of the internet. We are going deep today. So there's a reason our president met the Russian president somewhere that they could block frequencies. It's so much information. never even heard of this before. I'm just beginning to dig into it. Again, if you appreciate me spending so many hours a day finding this, bringing it to you to break off the lies from you, the scales off your eyes, right? Please look in the top of comments, guys. Even if you just send $1, it is a blessing. Y'all know that we went through a horrific time there with our dog, my German, but my husband is legitimately fighting for his life right now. But he's still working because he is a man of God. But I told him the other day, if I could just get a little extra money put up, I think I'm going to take him out the heat for a week or so. Nope, we cannot get disability. There are rules. You have the aneurysm has to be a certain size, and it would take us 6 months to a year, and we simply could not survive like that right now. But my husband enjoys working. He's been working since he was 9, much like my father, who is 83, making YouTube channel videos, right? Still working. There will be no retirement for me and mine because we enjoy what the Lord has for us. And God says he's going to bless everything that my hands touch. So I just keep moving. I just keep pushing because I know that he's going to stand on his word. So I love you guys. Be blessed. Stay safe. And I hope you'll do your own research. Everything's going to be listed in comments. Please go research it on your own.